All right, welcome LinkedIn. We are here with Mike Capone, CEO of Qliks, and we're at the Qliks Data Integration and Analytics Summit for Financial Services. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Kate. Great to be here.
Welcome to the show, and I'm really looking forward to talking about accelerating business through data, business value through data.
There you go.
So as you're tuning in, if you could just let us know where you're joining from, because it's always interesting to see kind of where people are coming from. I actually attended your keynote today, and I loved it, and then sat through Kirk Bourne's session on data literacy. Always a pleasure to listen to you and to Kirk, and like we were just chatting about, he always has the right level of data storytelling plus adding value and kind of teaching the audience a little bit more about data and data literacy. That was really good. I think we can get started with a question of how did you come to be the CEO of Qliks?
It's an interesting story, Kate. So I've been in kind of cloud computing and software my entire life, 30-year career, most of it at a company called ADP, a little payroll company out here in New Jersey. So I was at another company called Metadata about 2 years ago, and literally I got a phone call from a friend of mine who was the CEO of a sister company of Qliks, indicating that Qliks had the opening. He thought it'd be perfect, and my answer was, well, I have a job, like I'm doing well. But then I started doing a little research about Qliks, its customers. I had used Qliks in a past life at ADP in Europe. And the more I learned about Qliks, the more I got excited. Of course, no executive these days is turning down a conversation about data and how data can change their business. So the combination of that plus the great Qliks customers, great Qliks employees, it became a really easy call for me.
And it's been about 2 years at this point, right?
I just passed my 2-year anniversary.
Happy anniversary! Great. Look, what a way to celebrate with a LinkedIn.
There you go. That's it. LinkedIn broadcast.
All right. So for the people who aren't really familiar with Qliks, can you provide a brief description of data integration and data analytics, and kind of what is the value that customers receive through those channels?
Sure, be happy to. So yeah, you nailed our business model, which is we're the leading provider of data integration and data analytics, and it's sort of the end-to-end value chain around data. So more and more people talk about analytics as being important, which of course it is, and Qliks been doing that for a long time. But the reality is the problem is much bigger than that. How do you get the data out of your operational systems into an analytics-ready platform? How do you analyze that data? But then equally as important is the other side of it, which is how do you action it? How do you actually get the answer from your analytics platform and then do something with it? And Kirk, in his story today, was talking about the fact that people, their brain lights up when they see the analytics and what it tells them, but then it goes dark when they have to make a decision about what to do next. And at Qliks, what we're trying to do is solve that end-to-end problem.
Yes, excellent. And I see a bunch of people have joined us in the session. Let's see, we've got Susan Walsh from the UK. We've got folks from India, from Canada, from Houston.
Wow.
I saw Jennifer Cooper joined, and she's from Texas. So all great. And you guys tuning in, I do have some questions prepared for Mike, but if you want to ask a question, feel free and put it in the comments, and we'll be sure to address as many as we can in the 45 minutes or so that we're going to be going live here. So I have been kind of snooping around Qliks and all the stuff that you guys have been doing, and I saw 2 recent acquisitions of Attunity and Rocks AI.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just tell us a little bit about why those 2 acquisitions made sense and what did those companies do?
Sure. So back to this question of what are chief data officers and CIOs telling us, and that was, you got to help me solve the end-to-end problem, not just the analytics problem. So Attunity, a wonderful company, sort of a little bit of a secret. It was a public company based in Israel, and they had an amazing sort of change data capture technology, which in and of itself is interesting, but there's other technology that can do that. There's lots of competitors. But what Attunity also does is it actually does the data modeling. So you can actually extract data to your operational systems and move it into a conformed data model. And partners, we work with partners like Snowflake and Microsoft Azure. So this transition of getting kind of on-premise, sort of antiquated BI or analytics platforms out of your data center and into modern analytics platform in the cloud, like Snowflake or Redshift. Attunity does that really well, and it does the data modeling for you. So that acquisition has been hugely successful for us. That business is on fire actually right now. And then recently, Rocks AI, so now it's the other side, which is action it. So Rocks AI is an AI ML capability that's really about intelligent alerting. So the ability to actually mine your analytics platform, come up with outcomes, come up with thresholds, and actually once you get something that you're actually looking for, alert somebody and action it, do something, tell somebody, hey, go do something with it. So it's back to the headless analytics. You don't always have to think too much. You kind of know what you have to do with it. Just tell somebody so they can go do it. Or even better yet, actually affect the change without anybody even touching it.
So can you give an example of the alerts? Because that's really interesting. Is it something like if your sales go below a certain threshold, you know, all the management get an alert and they have to do something to make changes, or?
Yeah, so that would be a really good example. One of my favorite examples, we have a customer who is in the food service business. So they do concession stands and things like that. Like they real-time monitor what's going on through they connect their point of sale systems, suck that data into Qlik, and then they analyze it. And what they're really looking for is patterns in the data, like food that is selling well or that they're going to run out of, or food that actually is not selling well, right? And then what they do is they actually take pricing decisions based on that. So, hey, we're not selling enough salad, we better drop the price on salad so we get rid of it, because otherwise no one's going to eat the salad tonight after it's been sitting there for 5 hours. And likewise, hey, we're running out of beer, we need to get more beer over to the stadium quick. So that's a great example of how the technology works.
Yeah, okay, great, thanks for that. And we actually, when I was posting about this event in advance to see if there were questions from other members of the community, a question came from Sarah Nel Rodriguez where she asked what your thoughts are on the Magic Quadrant with Microsoft and Tableau being the leaders, and kind of how does Qlik fit into this picture?
Sure. So thanks, Sarah, for the question. I'm actually glad it came up. So the Gartner Magic Quadrant is a perspective. We've actually been in the Leaders Quadrant in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for analytics for 10 years, which is an amazing feat for any company, any industry, in any kind of technology sector. So we're really proud of that fact. Criteria changes. We feel very good about our position, but more important, the industry's evolving. So our vision, which is this end-to-end data integration through data analytics and action, actually the industry's just starting to catch up, the analysts are just starting to catch up. So today there's actually a separate Magic Quadrant for data integration than there is for data analytics. We view those as one thing. We're strong in both categories, so so we feel like we're actually really well positioned. You got to look at the picture holistically versus a very narrow slice.
Right.
The other thing I would say is, well, we're proud of where we stand in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. If you look at some other surveys, you're all over these things. I know you are. So like for example, the BARC survey, which is a more global kind of perspective and is very customer centric and relies more on customer sentiment. We always place in first in many of the top categories in those types of surveys. So we feel pretty good.
As you should, listen.
Yeah.
All right, I want to shift a little bit to talk about data literacy because you guys do a lot in data literacy.
We do.
Whenever I think of data literacy, I think of Jordan Morrow from Qlik, and so I do want to hear a little bit about your vision as the company for data literacy.
Sure. So data literacy, it's a hot topic now. We've been on it for a while, but think about it as the way to sort of read, understand, argue with, interpret data. So analytics are great, but there still has to be kind of a human element to interpret the information coming out of the analytics platform. I always joke with people that if you give me a data set, I can almost tell any story I wanted to, and my team does this to me all the time, right? They'll like change the scale on a graph to make it look like the growth is bigger, and so what we try to do is we try to make the world a better place, both in business and society, by raising this level of data literacy, the comfort level people have with actually working with data. It is super critical. To me, data literacy, I talk about this all the time. If you think about the Industrial Revolution, how important reading and writing was back then, so that we could transition to more of a knowledge economy. Data literacy is going to be the next big thing, transitioning to a data economy.
Yeah, and on that note, I saw you guys came up with something called data literacy as a service.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. At Qlik, there was such a demand within our client base for data literacy. It's okay, I get it, I believe in it, we know we have to be better, how can you help? So at Qlik we launched data literacy as a service. It's one of the pillars, fundamental pillars of our value proposition to our customers, which is we will now help our customers become more data literate. A lot of that is free. I mean, if you go to our website, you can take data literacy courses, and we're working with universities and things like that. But then to take it to a higher level, we can actually we have a service that you can actually engage with. Where actually do consultative work to raise the data literacy of your organization.
That makes sense. I think there's clearly a need for something like that in the industry. So a lot of people join. I see Scott Taylor, some familiar faces. He's the data whisperer. Let's see, we got a
I
few
want that
folks.
title, Data Whisperer.
Yes, the Data Whisperer.
The
not
Data
just
Whisperer.
Yes. I got Michael here from New Mexico, more from Canada. Just trying to see if there were questions. I think I saw a couple. Oh, all right. So Michael is asking, telling whatever story you want to, and having to tell the right story. I guess this is storytelling with data. So Joseph's question here, Joseph Yakura is asking, how do you address data quality? That's a good question.
No, it's a great question. Joseph, right?
Yes,
There's
Joseph.
So Joseph, thanks for the question. So look, data quality, obviously garbage in, garbage out. So what's interesting is the way we view this is there's this concept of data democratization, right? And the ability to actually get data out. There's obviously a lot of work that's to be done, and there are tools. We partner with some great companies that have data cleansing kind of technology capabilities, and that's great. But what we've also found is as you start to catalog data, as you start to make it more freely accessible across the organization, when you take IT out of the middle as a choke point and instead catalog it, let end users see it, there actually is a little bit of a crowdsourcing element of data cleansing, right? The abilities for the organization. So if you look at kind of our technology, there's actually almost a social aspect to our data cataloging tool. People can actually rate the quality, the cleanliness of the data, the accuracy, how frequently it's used. And that is a self-policing mechanism, because then that forces us to go back and actually look at that data and clean it. So it's just a different angle. But there are lots of tools out there that we plug into our platform that can do that as well.
Yeah, speaking of partners, you reminded me, in your keynote today, you mentioned customer retention and the fact that Qlik has a 95% customer retention rate. So just wanted to ask, how are you guys pulling this off? How do you do it?
Yeah, we're very lucky. So we have a very loyal customer base.
Yeah.
So first, definitely is the 95%, because I listen to some other companies and they go, our customer retention is 117%.
Wait, what?
What? How can that be? There's a
Mine is 200.
problem
I don't know.
data
You're
with
falling
that.
behind.
So what they do is they count like upsell and so that's cheating, right? Like
poor data quality.
it's a really good marketing hype type tool. So what we count is same store sales, which is $1 last year is $1 this year. We sell anything else to that customer, that's new business. But so we're just talking about retaining the customers and the dollars that we have, and it's 95%. And it goes back. I mean, we like to think that our business model is we do it with you, not to you.
Right.
So we have long-standing partnerships with our customers. I mean, we're deeply embedded in the way that they run their business. If you look at a company like T-Mobile, we're in all 5,000 of their stores, right? Like that is a tight partnership. That's something that we're going to work. So it is of great value, and it kind of goes back to the founding of the company as this company founded in Sweden, more than 20 years ago, which was a deep belief that you value the relationship. You don't value just the commercial aspect of it. You value the entire relationship.
Yeah, and also something you mentioned earlier was you're meeting the customer where they are. So if they want to be in the cloud, you go to the cloud. They want to be on premise, you stay on premise. And I think, and working with other BI tools as well, and not saying no, that's a competitor. Close that box.
Right.
Being open to that, I think, has probably added to your success as
you
well.
got you got our pitch down. You could be in our marketing. Yeah, I was a CIO for many years. I'm still recovering from those years, years of therapy. It was a $12 billion company, and I do remember which vendors were partners and which vendors were, jacking me up at the end of the quarter, right? And that was meaningful to me. The customers that understood my strategy, where I was trying to go, what I was trying to do, and work with me to achieve it, the outcome, versus the ones that said, hey, it's the end of the quarter, what are you going to do for me? Like, I still know who those people are. And when they try to sell me something today, they're not welcome.
All right, so comment from Jennifer Cooper. She says it's very important to understand Gartner has many, many, many different magic quadrants, and being a leader in the analytics category for 10 plus years is no small feat. So she says congratulations to
Oh, thank
Qlik.
you, Jennifer. That's really great.
All right, I have a couple of questions here. Vivek is asking, is there any way in QlikSense to get email alerts when there's a KPI in a Qlik dashboard that will show up sales going down below an expected threshold?
Yeah.
Basically what we discussed a little bit earlier.
Yeah, there's really two ways to get at that use case, Vivek. So first is with our Insight Bot technology. So we have technology in the acquisition we did last year that enables kind of an NLP interface where you can ask questions of data. And in just natural language,
Right.
NLP is why it's called that. And through that interface, you also have the ability to integrate with common collaboration tools like Slack, for example, or you can actually send off email messages to, in fact, my team, when they demo, they always get like an email in the middle of their demo because they want to show everybody their email and the CEO.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, but then with Rocks AI, you can, which is the acquisition we did, which that'll be generally available starting in Q2 as we integrate that. You can actually go much deeper. So you can go in, you can set thresholds. There's you can do statistical analysis that will actually real time figure out ways to alert you, based on criteria. So very sophisticated. That is coming soon to a theater near you, so stay tuned. But it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I think another cool feature I saw, it was probably 6 or 7 months ago. It was at another Qlik event here in New York, where I believe it was either Insight Bot or something, where you can type in a chat, right, where you ask what were my sales last year and how does it compare to the quarter before or something, and you would just see charts being built. Not sure if it was Insight Bot or
That's Insight Bot. It does that. So
yeah.
It'll suggest visualizations based on the question you asked. What it'll also do, which is kind of cool, is it'll suggest the next level question. So if I say, what was gross profit last quarter, you may want to say, it will come back and actually say to you, you may also want to look at gross profit as compared to last year, and then it'll suggest a visualization for that. It's it's a very practical use of ML and AI to enhance the user experience.
Yeah, and on that note, and this isn't a question I have prepared, but I'm now curious to know is, what do you think of the future for data analysts, right? Because it's automating a lot of that work where it empowers the business user to simply type in a question. They no longer have to go, wait 2 weeks after asking IT a question where they wrangle data. So
yeah.
What are your thoughts on the future of a data analyst career?
Yeah. So first, like I said, I was the IT guy. I was that guy that was the bottleneck for a long time in terms of getting data into analytics, and they used to have to bribe me with like donuts if you wanted to get a new data feed. This is a long time ago. But what I would say to your question specifically is, I'm not one of those believers in AI is going to like eliminate the need for data analysts or look, it's all there's going to be plenty of work. What you want to do is you want the data analyst to actually be solving problems and data scientists to be building models and have that stuff be brought back into the workflow of then the day-to-day users of the analytics technology. And then the analysts go on to the next hard problem. The problem today is that those analysts are actually having to solve the basic problems because we haven't democratized data. We haven't pushed out the capabilities in a meaningful way to end users across the business. So that's kind of how I think about that problem. But I'm not one of the sky is falling people who say, all you data analysts are going to find new jobs. No, I actually think jobs are going to get better and more fun.
Yeah, and that's a sentiment I hear from a lot of people where they say that job is not going away. It's just transforming into something more fun and more value add.
Do you see how much data is coming in,
yes.
and with the advent of things like sensors, and it's there's plenty of work for everybody.
Absolutely. We have a follow-up question from Joseph where he's asking if do you see companies developing data dictionaries within their companies and across their industries in advance of data interpretation? To advanced data interpretation, sorry.
Woo, that's a great. I certainly see customers. There's a whole thing going on around master data management and data governance inside of their companies. I'm sure there are examples of collaboration and people doing this across industries, and maybe some of your viewers, if they have examples, they could chime in. Maybe we could share them. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any that I would say yes. There's people are building common taxonomies and things across the entire industry. It'd be super cool if they were doing that. Right. I'm sure. I shouldn't say that. In my last gig, which was in healthcare, in kind of clinical trial work, there was that work going on, right? Yeah. So there was a little bit of that. In fact, the company used to work for metadata. We used to try to normalize data statistically across customers with their permission, so that we could do some comparisons. So it goes on. I wish it would go on more though. So if anybody has any good examples that we could share, we're happy to read those out.
All right, so Scott Taylor is saying, hi Mike, we are all data whisperers. That was the data whisperer.
You're right, Scott.
Question was, as you look across your end-to-end spectrum, where is your strategic focus in the next few years, and what are the big opportunities that you're seeing?
Wow.
See, I told you, the audience has great questions.
No, they do. No, they do. He sounds like he's on my board. That's the kind of question my board would ask me. Oh, look, we're trying to tackle this problem holistically, right? So the industry is super fragmented right now. There's a lot of spot tools. I was with a big bank yesterday, and they were talking about how they had to cobble together a bunch of different solutions, and and it's hard, and the velocity is not good. And the lights just went out in the room
Wait,
because
is it like motion
because we're
sensor?
not on the motion sensors here, but so it's
This is great.
so this is our there's a switch on the wall over there.
I'm gonna go play with this one.
We're alone in a room here at the event center, so there you go. Good job, Kate.
I just pressed all the buttons. So.
Yeah, law of unintended consequences. We're conserving energy by
Yes, of course.
'cause there's no motion. So anyway, we're trying to solve this problem holistically. So what we're doing is looking at the problem from raw data all the way through insights, and our strategic focus is to make sure we solve that problem. But you're gonna have to stand over there and keep the lights on. Apparently, I think we're still good.
Yep.
And then this last piece, which is a really important piece, what you're going to see us really double down on, starting with the Rox AI acquisition, but then moving forward, is also this actionable piece. So actually driving analytics into day-to-day processes. So you see us get more into RPA integration, for example,
Yeah.
deep process mining, for example, things like that. So we're really excited. It's going to be the next big thing.
All right. So first of all, nothing phases you. Apparently, the lights went out, and you kept.
I've
you
seen
keep
it all. I
Going.
don't know.
This is
No, there's
awesome.
no.
This I've had worse. I actually had fire alarms going off in the Empire State Building.
Oh, okay.
It was actually with Scott. Scott was on my live stream, and the Data Whisperer, and yet the fire alarm kept going off every 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah?
For a while, yes. But we kept going. So, oh my goodness. Anyways.
Yeah, we had I was doing a company town hall, and the fire alarm went off, and we had 1,500 people online.
Yeah.
And so it was a decision I had to make. Like, 'cause if it's a false alarm, then
Oh,
I'm fine. If it's a
yeah,
real fire,
that's-
then what do? We stayed. We figured,
stayed?
Yeah. Good CEO. I'd lead from the front, you know.
Leave
so
from the front.
Yeah.
At
yeah.
least you didn't leave, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're gonna move on to the BI landscape. So there have been acquisitions, Salesforce and Tableau,
Mhm.
Google and Looker. I can never say those at the same time.
Mhm.
So what do you see as the future of this landscape based on these acquisitions that are taking place? And I know there are a lot more that have happened that I didn't highlight.
There are a lot more that have happened. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely consolidation going on in the industry. We've seen this before. Those of us who are a little bit older and a little bit older and longer in career remember the last wave of consolidation, the Cognos Business Objects acquisitions that went on. And I think what we saw there was, there was a little bit of a drop off in innovation in the BI space where those things got digested and brought in. And actually, that's how Tableau and Qlik were kind of born, right? Out of that wave. So we're seeing again, the great companies, all of them. I have huge respect for Tableau and Salesforce and Google and Looker. It's a different approach, right? So at Qlik, we really believe that in the independence of analytics, right? We are not our business model is not get all of your data into our cloud. That is the business model of some other companies, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I do hear from a number of customers, though, is that's not appealing to them, right? They view analytics as something that's across their entire enterprise. It should be independent. They're not sure if they want it in your cloud or they want to run it in their data center. Very often, customers are looking for sort of a heterogeneous environment, so
Like a
they put
mix
some
of the
stuff
two,
in
yeah.
public, AWS, and so we support all of that. So it's a philosophical difference. We take the product functionalities and things aside, but on just the approach, and we're the last big independent analytics provider standing, right?
Right.
So we feel pretty good about ourselves right now, and our customers are reacting very positively to our kind of agnostic approach. We do business with you the way you want to do business with us.
Yeah, and I think it was one of your conversations where you mentioned a competitor and you did it in such a friendly manner. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Like, they're being friendly. I think people want to work with people who are open to working with other technologies and kind of being flexible and finding customers where they are, like you said.
We are, and you mentioned earlier, we are super open. The customer's at the center. I always say this all the time, which is, if we're not doing what the customer needs us to do, then we're not succeeding. It can't be our way or the highway.
Yeah.
And a lot of our customers, look, they have heterogeneous environments. We have, 9 of the top 10 financial services companies as customers. We're super proud of that. It's where we are today, the Financial Services Summit.
Yep.
Most of them have some of our competitors' tools in there too.
Yeah.
And like our data integration tools work with all of them. So you can, our data cataloging tool, our data integration tools you can send that to Qlik, you can send it to Tableau. That's fine. It's what the customer needs. And then over time, we hope to continue to win their business on the analytics side. that's how we think about it. And I'm on great terms with Microsoft and it's all first class.
Awesome. All right, question from Eric Bird. So, what do you see in the future for healthcare and medical analytics?
Ooh, this is one of my favorite topics, right? Data. You talk about data being like the next oil or the next currency of the future, but healthcare. And again, I spent 3 years in life sciences. There were three. I consider myself very lucky to have spent those years. We were in the clinical trial space. So the company I worked for did cloud technology for accelerating clinical trials. So the ability to actually get life-saving drugs and just drugs in general, treatments, therapies, to market safer and faster. And part of that, we had a big data strategy, and that was really leveraging data to make the trials more effective. And the interesting thing, if you know anything about this, is a great story. I can't, it was actually the president and founder of my last company. This was his thing, which was clinical trials. They're inherently kind of evil because you have to have a control arm. You have to have like a placebo arm in a trial. A lot of people know this. So some percentage of people are getting the real new experimental therapy, and some percentage of people are either getting a placebo or they're getting current standard of care. Well, guess what? Like, we already know what not giving you the drug does, right? But then the gold standard has always been, no, you got to do double-blind clinical trial. Through the work we did with data, we actually got a bunch of different pharma companies to contribute their data. We're actually able to demonstrate in a statistically meaningful way that you could have a synthetic control arm where you actually use data rather than live patients as the control. And it was accepted by ASCO, the oncology society, as legit research, to put it simply. So that's like kind of the breakthroughs. But then when you think about all the uses of data, there are millions. I'm super excited about it. And we help a lot of our customers with this stuff. Value-based care is another great example, right? Because it's no longer acceptable to just have a new therapy and put it on the market. That you really need to demonstrate that therapy not only treats the condition that you may have, but it also improves your quality of life, right?
Yeah.
Because you're company A's therapy, company B's therapy. One of those, the insurance companies want to reimburse for the one that's most effective and helps people be more productive members of society as they're being treated. That's in the data.
Yeah.
So on the commercial side, on the the kind of post launch surveillance of the drug, that's going to be important. So companies are really embracing data as a way to get at that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of a lot of trends and positive trends in healthcare, but a lot of times there are rules against using the data and privacy of the patients.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get over that hurdle with all the regulations around data privacy?
Yeah, it's the data privacy one. It's an important one, and the regulations are there for a reason, right?
Yes.
To protect people's privacy. It's really, really important, and we're big believers, and we help our customers with GDPR. And now California has a new set of rules that we're doing. CCPA that we're.
I think New York is getting one.
New York has one pending. That's right.
Pending.
So it's coming, and they're there for a reason. They do. At times they can inhibit.
Yeah. Or slow down at least.
Slow down things. But that said, I think the regulators are starting to understand. There are techniques we use to anonymize data to be able to get at the answers. It's going to be an evolving landscape. What I always, we get to, because of who we are, we get to talk to some of the regulators from time to time, and we have really good conversations about, okay, yes, we need to protect privacy, but we also need to make the world better.
Yes.
And there are ways you can actually do both.
Yeah.
It's not all one way or the other.
That's the sweet spot.
That's
yes.
it. Yeah.
All right, really interested in your thoughts here from Gokula. All right, so why do you think with all of the data, tools, and technologies that are available, why are companies struggling to make data-driven decisions? I can't wait.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, so cool. It's the question, right?
Yes.
Because it is. There are a lot of tools out there, and we talked about and more and more data.
Yeah.
And we talked. It was part of the keynote this morning that we were involved in, and first of all, there's a lot of historicals, aspects to this, right? People just they're just comfortable making decisions with their gut. Even executives, really smart executives that I know, I won't name them because
They'll do it.
they want to be my friends, but they still they don't trust the data, and very often it takes multiple sort of side by side views of sales forecasting, right? We use kind of ML AI models to look at our forecast, and then we have our sales leaders saying, here's, it's the questions, what's your best case, what's your upside, it's fun to watch. But then after a few months, you learn to trust it, but people still, they still have a hard time just natively believing like the analytics and the data. One of the things that we do to try to help people overcome that is there's a lot of ML AI in our platform. We call it our cognitive engine. But what we do is we call it white box AI. So a lot of problems with data science models and people embracing them is that people don't understand how you got the answer, and so they don't trust it.
Yep.
It's like, I don't know how you came up with that. Like for 20 years, it's been, something different, and we've been doing this for 20 years. So when we present, when our kind of recommendation engine presents like a potential conclusion to why something is the way it is, we explain how we got there, and that's why we call it white box. Really, really important, and that embodies trust. We got to change people's minds, so we actually have to start getting people to make more data-driven decisions. And if you look, lead with data, right? That's our tagline. It really is something very important to us.
And the same person, and I guess it might be the same question, but can technology alone enable companies to become data-driven? If not, what else is needed? So I think you said it's kind of educating them in the culture change, right?
It is data literacy. Like blind trust in anything is not a good thing, right? So I think the combination of better technology deployed by smart, reasonable people, and then data literacy, which is why we with that as a key pillar, helping people understand what they're looking at, is important. We had a great conversation this morning in our keynote, external keynote speaker. He's talking about outliers, and he said outliers is a terrible concept, right? Outlying data points, because you could have a data point that's right in the middle of your graph, in between all the data points, that shouldn't be there, right? Yeah. So it's not an outlier, but I forget what he called it, but it was like bad data. It was a bad data or unexpected. So
a surprise. I think you said
a surprise,
yes.
What right? So because something shouldn't be in the middle, it's not an outlier, but it still doesn't well belong there. So it's helping people understand that.
Yeah. Question from KMA. So is there a plan to enable voice-enabled data exploration and connectivity with graphs? I think we touched on it a little bit with InsightBot.
Yeah.
But is that, can you just type it, or can you actually speak to the computer?
Yeah, so you can type it, or we have APIs that go out to all the leading voice interfaces, so Alexa, Siri, etc. So either way is fine. It's one of those things that everybody's got their favorite. So what we don't want to do is pile on like more paradigms and say, oh, Qliks got its own voice interface when everybody's used to using Siri or Alexa or something else, right? So it's like, hey, whatever you got, that works.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, question from Yuri. So he's here from the Netherlands, and the question is there a plan to combine different functionalities of the different available products within the Qlik portfolio into one overall product? So replacing the QS script engine with ETL functionality, for example, Tunity. So basically, are you planning to put all this thing in, I guess it is a Qlik product, but.
It's a Qlik platform is what we talk about. So Yuri, the question's a good one. So what we're trying to do is actually blend, integrate the products where it makes complete sense, but not blow up the modularity of the platform, right? Because again, I don't want it to be this monolithic thing where customers say, well, I can't use your data integration tools because I don't use your analytics tools, right? Again, that's customer unfriendly. But what you will see us do, for example, in our latest release, if you look at our data cataloging product, you can now access that. That's directly embedded in our QlikSense analytics platform. You'll see the DI tools sort of bleed into the analytics platform, so there will be more seamlessness there. But you'll still be able to modularize it, so if you want to use part of the platform and not all of it, you'll be able to do that, no fuss, right?
Yeah. I have an interesting question here that is slightly taking us away from business value and Qlik.
Okay.
Question of your busy life as a CEO with a family and kids. How do you juggle all of that?
Oh,
You're like,
So that's a question. That's all I could also use if somebody wants to tell me. Look, it is. Look, it's a struggle. I don't make any bones about that. I travel a lot. Like so,
I can imagine.
We're actually more outside the U.S. than inside the U.S. in terms of our business. We're founded in Europe. Yeah, no,
okay.
We are a very global company. We're in over 100 countries, and I like to be with customers. I like to spend time. So rules are be there for the important stuff. So today is my daughter's 13th birthday. So when
Is it?
yes, so when I
Happy
split
birthday,
when I
my
split from
daughter.
here, I'm going home, and we're going out to dinner, and then we're going to a Knicks game this weekend. But it's like, so the important stuff matters. You gotta be there for that. You gotta talk to your kids about it and make sure that they understand what you're doing. And my daughter thinks it's super cool that like I'm off going to Sweden and doing all these things.
That's good.
And so I spent a lot of time with her. I leverage technology, like when I was a kid, like FaceTime didn't exist, right? So
Yeah.
now I can do homework with my daughter over FaceTime, so we do that. And then I do try, when at all possible, to keep the weekends sacred, right? So that's it. My daughter's become a fairly prolific tennis player, so like I try to get to her tournaments and things like that. When you go to Asia and stuff, you go sometimes travel on the weekend, but other than that, when I'm there, I'm there. I have a no device rule with my family, no dinner time, phones.
Yeah.
My daughter didn't even like take her phone with her anymore. She drives me crazy. So, but it's a struggle. My wife is working mom as well. She's a CFO of a pretty big business. So we make it work, but you actually got to work at making it work.
So it's a balance, and you're present when you're there, and I think that
That's
goes
it.
a long way.
You got to be all in. In my team, in my team meetings where nobody's allowed to have their phone out and look, and it drives them crazy because they all have ADD. So they're all they start sweating when they can't look at their phone. But it really is be in the moment. Be that person. Like me and you are right now.
Yeah.
That person. That's your attention is there, right?
Yep.
And if you pick up your phone and doing all this
It's
context
definitely
switching. So, and I really value that. I really value that.
Yeah, I remember there was I forget who said it, but they said if you're getting surgery done, would you want the person doing the surgery to quickly glance at their phone for a few seconds and then continue doing the work? Probably not. That goes for a lot of other professions. So if you apply that to your being with your kids and your actual job as well.
Look, a couple hours of being completely present with
Yeah.
my daughter is worth more than a day of me constantly jumping on my phone or looking, texting, and so everybody does it their own way. But what I found is that you train your team and you train your for example, I'm not constantly tethered to email. I look at. I have certain times during the day when I get on my email and I look at it, because most emails asynchronous anyway, right? So
Yeah.
you don't need to. Most of the email doesn't need to be responded to right away. People feel good. You get a little endorphin rush when you get that email and you respond to it right away, but it's kind of not good. And what I tell my team is if you really need me, call me or text me, and then I'll respond right away. That's how you know to get me.
Yeah.
But don't expect me to to respond to email every 5 minutes, because
Then
I'm
you
probably
can't do your work.
yeah, because maybe I'm doing a live webcast with somebody.
There you
I don't want
go.
to be doing
You're on
email.
LinkedIn Live.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we have a couple more questions that came in. We've got one from Trip Parker. He's asking, in your experience, are senior executives less trusting than those doing the work? And by less trusting, I'm assuming he's talking about using data visualization or making data-driven decisions.
So, what I'd say is it's really bifurcated. It's not. I wish it was degrees up. And honestly, I was with the CEO. Actually, I can say the company, Sterling National Bank. I was with him yesterday. That CEO, he is very data driven. He's in a Qliks dashboard,
Yeah.
and he's looking at it, and when he sees something, he's all on his team, action it. And we had a great conversation. And he's the prototypical data driven, analytics focused CEO. And there's more and more of those today. I still come across CEOs who say, I don't believe in any of this stuff. Less and less, less and less. And
So there's an upward trend.
there's an upward trend,
Yeah.
but you talk. The question was really, at the lower levels of the organization, and I think we had some great examples today of people at the lower levels of the organization using data to make really smart decisions. I think they're hungry for it.
Yep.
I think if they could get at it, look, if you're a customer service representative and you're on the phone and you could learn some insight about the customer that could help you make that interaction more successful, and data could give you that, they'll kill for that. That's a great thing. So we're seeing it. It's coming. It's happening. You got to make sure it's accurate and clean and timely. But you do all those things, and the world will be a better place.
Awesome. So Gokul is saying that he loves the fact that you have a great focus on your family, and Scott says that you have good priority settings. So there you go.
Thank you.
All right. Agus, we're talking about being on the third generation of BI. What do you think about the fourth generation BI? What will it be about? What's the future?
What's the future? Yeah, if I knew that, I'd like make a lot of money
Let me
investing.
get my little,
yeah.
what is that, the crystal ball?
Yeah, I think, yeah, so I do have a perspective on this, right? So, you know, and again, I already shared a little bit of it, which is, you know, we're not all going to be, you know, nuked out of existence by AI. Like that's not really a thing. So what I do think is going to happen is you are going to see more of this end-to-end, you know, and it exists today. Like, I mean, you look at like jet airplanes and things like that, they're streaming analytics and they're making adjustments, and that kind of technology will become a lot more mainstream, right? So the ability to actually use analytics to automate processes, to change pricing on the fly, to embed an RPA and actually improve processes, that's going to happen. And what you see is you'll see more and more, I really call it headless analytics, but the ability not to force somebody to action it, but to actually just action it, because you know what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
And then what that'll lead to is people solving bigger and bigger problems. That automation is going to happen. AI is going to get more and more powerful. We now know the interval by which the lights go out. Just about 10,
We'll probably
10,
have one
10
more.
minutes.
One more, yes.
Yeah, no, that's okay. They can still hear me if they.
Yeah, they can still hear you. You're still good.
They can't see me. We're in New York, by the way. There's, you know, it's a little dark out on the street there. It's a great day here. Good job.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you're great at the logistics part of this. So, but you will see AI and machine learning play a much bigger role in terms of understanding and helping you draw conclusions. But you know, I hate the word artificial intelligence because it all had to originate somewhere.
Yep.
We call it augmented intelligence, the ability to have the technology actually enhance your experience to be better at what you do.
Yeah, parts of that is kind of not scary, but it's interesting, right? When you think of walking past a storefront and having the ads change based on who you are, right? So if you're female, you know, between the age X and Y, then they'll show you maybe somebody who looks like you wearing the outfit if you're walking past the clothing store. I think there are some stores that are already doing that, like changing the ads based on who's passing by.
No, that's definitely happening. They push different coupons as soon as you walk in. They get your geofence. They push like coupons to stuff you might buy. The scary thing is sometimes you get those things. You're like, wow, who do they think I am?
When they're wrong, yeah.
Yeah, when they're wrong. There's also been examples of that being abused, right? Like, you know, the teenager buys a pregnancy test.
Oh,
and
yes.
So you know, so like that's the fine line we walk, right?
Yep, absolutely. Scott's back with a question. What is your approach to get your CEO contacts to understand the transformational value and start to trust the data? What do you do to help them believe? Well, I think you spoke a little bit about this.
Spoke a little bit about it. You know, it's very situational. I wish there was like a white paper I could send everybody that would say like, hey, here's how you do it. Trust me. It really is engaging. You know, we just one of the things I introduced her on stage today, but we just added an executive to my team. Her name's Purnima Ramaswamy. She was a very senior executive at Qliks. She ran the North American data business. She's not a software person. Which, you know, we're software companies. Why hiring somebody who comes up with a big services business? And it's because she has that transformation mindset, and she's worked with CIOs and CDOs and CEOs on how you do this data-driven transformation. And so give me some of that, right?
Yeah.
So she's going to come in. She's helping us build that strategic transformation services mindset. But you have to engage CEOs in their own context, right? Like you have to understand what business problems they're trying to solve, what keeps them awake every night. And then very often you have to show them.
Show them,
and
yeah. Show them.
It's like a multi-month process to. Now that said, we got phenomenal case studies, you know, of you know, actually, Cognizant, you know, is a great example of a company that runs all their KPIs of their business on Qlik, right? They don't need to be told. Their CDO, you know, we'll talk about all the time how, you know, every executive has a Qlik dashboard that they use to monitor how they're doing. That is that's success. That's a win.
Yeah, I guess you can not only show them with their data, but also walk them through the case studies of where CEOs have been converted.
That's right. Everybody likes to know that like they're in good company with,
Yes.
you know, well, who else is doing this? And I have customers just say like, if anybody else is doing something better than me on analytics, you gotta tell me, right?
Yeah.
And I can't tell them who because we never give out customer information like that. But I will say you're getting your butt kicked by you know so and so because they're using analytics better than you.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, William Borix is asking, Mike, how much do you invest in data governance and literacy, and what would your top selling points to executives be to engender a data-driven work culture as a critical success factor to analytics and BI endeavors?
So, for a small company, which we are, which,
You're
20,
a small company?
20, well, I used to work for a $12 billion, 60,000 person company, so I feel small. But Qlik, 2,400 employees, we
2,400,
punch
okay.
above our weight class, so we have a head of data literacy, you know him, you actually work with him, Jordan Morrow. He is, I think he's probably like the world's leading authority on data literacy, or he calls himself that, but I think he is. Actually, he's awesome, and he's the most in-demand speaker, but he's also the Qlik, like ombudsman of like data literacy. So we invest a lot. We literally, it sounds like we're late to the party, and I actually resist this for a while, but we literally named a chief data officer just a few weeks ago. It's funny, I resisted that, and people are like, well, Qlik should have a chief data officer because all your customers do. And my answer was always, everybody's a chief data officer. Like, this is Qlik, you're all chief data officers, darn it. But we did, a gentleman named Joe Dos Santos, we asked him to come on to really get after even our version of data governance, because I think we're good, but I want to be like super awesome. And we're also, as we enter new lines of business and as we take on different things, what we're finding is we're encountering the same problems our customers are. So we're going to use our own tools to an even greater extent, and Jordan and Joe are a big part of that. So we invest proportionally for a company our size.
Yeah.
Can do more. Really excited about what the future holds in that space, though.
What made you make the switch from not having a CDO to hiring one?
So a couple things. One is it was time with all the acquisitions we've done recently. You start to get that that bring it all together and data model discussions, and we were doing fine, but it's like everybody reaches a certain time. And then the second thing was opportunistically, as part of our Data Catalyst acquisition shortly thereafter, we had brought on board one of the top data people from one of their customers to come work for us.
Okay.
That was Joe Dos Santos. He's really good at it, so sometimes it's, it's,
find the right
you gotta be
person.
opportunistic, right?
Yeah.
And he's just spectacular. He's great. We were using him to go talk to customers about what they should be doing, and finally I just said, you know what, like, do this, go keep talking to customers, but do this for me too, like, go.
Yeah.
And so he's doing that. So, and he's making a big difference. He's beloved, like everybody loves him. He walks the walk, and he was with a really big company, really big financial services company, solving really big problems. He came to Qlik for the same reason that people like Purnima and others come to Qlik, because they believe in what we're doing, they understand, and they want to not make this better for one company, they want to make it better for the world.
Yeah, they share your vision.
Yes,
Yeah,
they do.
makes sense. Okay, so Darius says, speaking of phones, do you think, because we were talking about phones earlier,
Yes.
right? Do you think there's a need for dashboards being optimized for smartphones? Is that need increasing, or are we going the other way and trying to focus on larger screens? What are you guys doing?
Well, we do both, and we've got a really wonderful set of all of our desktop analytics are obviously optimized because they're consumable on a mobile app, so it's got all the responsive design that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have really good mobile technology, so we've got an iOS and an Android app that people can build. And what we see is both. It's all use case driven, right? So people who are road warriors who require mobile apps, we do that. I talked about the Cognizant tablet application. But we still see the use for big screen. You walk in, we have a big airline customer in Asia, and like you walk in and they've got like Qlik and all their planes in the air and everything being mapped out. So that stuff works. And then what we're also seeing is again embedded, right? So we still do plenty of dashboards, and dashboards are never going away. But much more what we're seeing is the on-demand, as needed, soundbite analytics, right? So back to my favorite food service company, they will monitor, they will take data out of their time and labor system, they will run it through Qlik, and then they will send an alert to cafeteria manager because they're about to trip overtime, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, start sending people home, or you're gonna get into overtime, right? And there's no dashboard anywhere involved, right? It's a text.
Oh, that's
it's a
really
text,
cool,
but
actually.
it was formed by analytics.
Yeah.
Now we don't do that alerting today because we didn't have ping before, but
now you do.
I'm gonna make them switch. We'll see. You'll see. But that's what's going on. So it's gonna be very use case driven.
All right, awesome. I think we're running close to time, so just to wrap up, last question: where can people go to find out more about Qlik and about you? Where can they contact you if they wanted to follow up with some of the questions?
Yeah, so, a few ways. Obviously, the Qlik.com website is a great resource to find out not only about all of our products and services, but also our social responsibility programs and case studies of what customers have done. I am a fairly prolific LinkedIn user, as are you, right? So
Yep.
people should absolutely feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I try to get to everything that I can. I'm pretty good at it, I think. And I'm happy to interact with anybody that way. And of course, follow me on Twitter and get all the latest and greatest. So those are absolutely the best ways.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you guys for joining. We'll chat again soon.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks, everyone.